But what else can we talk about with respect to product creation? What other factors are there that go into creating an actual product? What about something that comes to mind is like tools. What tools could one use to actually create these products?
It's so different depending on what it is you're creating. If it's a product that's a piece of software, like we've talked a lot about content in terms of like an ebook or something. Then we talked about like services. But if it's something like software or even a physical product, like there's all these different things. I think one of the biggest things that you and I have discussed many a times, one of the little hacks you can do is look at what's on the market and figure out, like read the reviews, figure out what people like about it, what people don't like about it, what people wish it had more of. And that's applicable to anything. If you're looking at creating a new running shoe, you could go and read about different New Balance shoes and see what people like and what they don't like. If you're thinking about creating a email delivery service, you could read about all the different things that people like and don't like about the topics out there. So I think that's a great way to kind of go into any product creation, just kind of getting a basis of, hey, this is what we know the market likes, this is what we know the market doesn't like, and this is where we kind of see the opportunity. It's almost like doing a SWOT analysis on
strength, weakness,
opportunities, and threats.
Opportunities. I was thinking SWOT with an A. I was like, what the heck does A stand for?
Yeah. So there's all that stuff. I'm trying to think of the other things that are pretty applicable to all sorts of products. Information products, services, physical products.
Well, you keep thinking about that. I'm going to chime in and interrupt. Just because we're hitting a bit of a not personal. Well, I guess it is a little bit personal with respect to my philosophy in business. This is something I've heard so many times. And I don't know if this definitely ties in with product creation. I've heard this so many times where people will go and do something and go down the rabbit hole, with creating their product and selling it and working with the customers and so on and so forth, and getting so far down that rabbit hole, maybe putting years of effort into it, and then realizing that their business model is flawed in one of many ways. But the biggest one is that, it's not scalable, right? I'm sure we've talked about scalability before, but it's a very important thing to bring up again and again, because it can save you a huge amount of time in life if you abide by the rules. But a lot of times I've heard of people who've put all this work in and they get to a point where they realize it's not scalable. They can't replicate themselves well enough to be able to grow the business sort of exponentially. There's a cap. There's only so many hours in the week that this person can work, right? So don't get yourself into that situation.
Let's talk about this, because I don't even know if we're doing justice on this subject.
Oh yeah, no, I was going to keep going.
Okay, yeah, there's a few different angles here. Remind me, I'll tell you how I kind of analyze things now because of past slip-ups. But one example comes to mind. My sister, she is a photographer. Mm-hmm. Really, really great at what she does. Like, has tons of raving reviews and stuff. But she still doesn't do it full time. Like, it's, a side business. And she wants to make that leap. She wants to leave her job and go full time into this. And one thing that I've talked to her about is, you got to think of it as there's only, well, first off, if she's doing wedding photography, which makes up about 70% of her business, there's only so many weekends out of the year that people are getting married. You know what I mean? So you're already capped there. Like, let's say you knocked it out of the park and you're doing it every single weekend. Well, that would suck probably for your just livelihood and enjoying friends and family and stuff. But the other side of that is it's really, really draining. So, but even there, if you did all that, you're capped. Okay, what would that look like? What would that income look like and everything else? The other side of that is when you build a business that's dependent on yourself, it's, you got to think about this stuff like, what happens if I got hit by a bus? I can't go. I asked my sister, I was like, what happens if you're like me, you mess up your knee over 4th of July and you're hanging around for a month and a half? Like, you can't go to weddings. So you got to think about stuff like that. think about how you're going to, offset that. And one of the things I've been trying to get her on board with, but because she's my sister, I'm her brother, and everything I say is just completely useless. But one of the things that I'm trying to get her on board with is building something that offers a more predictable income, or it's passive in the sense where she doesn't have to be directly involved. Maybe that's maybe that's a instructional series for people who are trying to do photography. Maybe that's incorporating some package for families where every half year they get their new photos taken, family photos taken.
Nice.
There's things you can do, but you just need to try to build in some predictability there. Otherwise, you're always going to be just scraping and clawing to meet whatever it is you're doing. The other, and that's like a perfect example. I feel like, 4 years ago, I would never have thought that way. I would have just jumped into something completely like, wow, this is great. I can make X amount per week. This is fantastic. The other side of that is I've had some fantastic ideas. And I'm talking like I was so excited about them. The other people in the room were super excited about them. And everyone's there, like the right people, the right investors, everyone to make this happen. And then you start breaking down the numbers and you realize that everything looks great on the surface, but then you go like tier 2, tier 3, and stuff starts getting like, it just doesn't make economical sense. And that's why I'm a huge fan of economics. Like everything pretty much comes back to economics. But one of the things I do now to kind of combat what you were saying in terms of like doing something and investing everything you have and then figuring out 6 months, 18 months later that it's not a feasible business model, sit down and really, really run the numbers. Like, make a best case scenario, worst case scenario, likely scenario, and then cut that stuff in half, like to see what it would look like.
Be realistic with yourself. Don't try to pad the numbers just because you think it's a great idea and you want to do it. Be realistic.
And find someone who will give you an honest feedback. Find someone who will be like, well, you're projecting 100 sales in a month, and you're saying that every 5 people who comes to your website will result in 1 sale, when actually it's going to be more like 1 out of every 100 or something. Like, find people who will give you that constructive feedback. Because once you have the numbers, you can really look at it. Like, the numbers don't lie, so to speak. They can really tell you, okay, this would be what it looked like if we knocked it out of the park. And then this is what average would look like. And that's everything going well, not expecting any hurricane or anything like that. So yeah, I like to use numbers to kind of weave through those types of situations.
Absolutely. And we've talked about the numbers before and how important it is to know your numbers with respect to, operation costs in your business, with respect to how much it takes to acquire a customer, with respect to how much each of those customers are worth to you once you acquire them, and so on and so forth. All this, when I first started, it was very intimidating. But like all this stuff, even as it relates to programming too, all these things sound so intimidating. But when you sit down and do a bit of research on them, like the tiniest, like you just Google it and then you read a wiki article about it. Then you're armed with the knowledge that you need. And then you can sit down in 5 minutes, you can come to the answer, the solution to these questions. And it's like, well, holy cow, why was I so afraid of this? Why did I think that this was some sort of wizardry? It wasn't. And it's just because of that fear of starting this giant mountain that you think is giant, but it's only because I don't know the metaphor there, but it's not actually giant. It's just a little tinker toy or something. Who knows? Terrible. So anyway, a couple things that you had mentioned. These are ideas and that I've come up with respect to products. And like you were saying, you've had all these great ideas about whether or not they're feasible and stuff. I haven't even run the numbers on these ideas, but this comes to yet another thing with respect to product creation is once you've created a product, you need to stick to it. You need to focus on it. That becomes your everything. If you've green-lighted the approach and green-lighted the creation of the product, and you've gone through with it, and the numbers are good, and so on and so forth, it's going to become uninteresting to you after 6 months. Okay. It might not be 6 months. It could be 4 months. It could be 8 months. Okay. But there's going to come a point where the passion and the interest and the excitement wears off. Okay, it's already happened with this podcast, believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen. For me, this is now I've hit the point where it's like, I was expecting so much of a bigger splash with respect to the listeners for this podcast, and I had all these great thoughts about it and everything, and it didn't come true, and that's fine because I know I didn't put enough work in to get the word out and to make it as amazing as it could be, and that's on my shoulders. But the point is that I'm still recording these episodes because I know that this is something that I want to do. This is something that I enjoy doing, and this is something I believe in. So I'm going to continue to do this stuff, even though the sort of excitement and the twinkle in my eye, the honeymoon period, if you will, has worn off. So don't fall into the trap of the shiny object syndrome and just go and pursue another product, after the excitement is worn off about your first one. Because I've done that so many times, and it was just such a dumb move. And I'm sure I left tons of cash on the table because I didn't pursue what was actually making me money in the first place, which is my first information product. Anyway, we've already talked about looking for signs of success when I interviewed Pat Flynn. We've already talked about all the things that go around making sure that what you are pursuing is something you should be pursuing. From there on out, you just have to do it. You have to put in the work. You need to deal with the fact that it's not as exciting anymore, and go forward with it. But having said that, I have 2 products that I've thought about that I've wanted to create, and I know I shouldn't do it, and I probably won't. But you talked about email products. Email delivery products. One of my biggest expenses for my business every month is Infusionsoft. And it's the most expensive software I pay for. And all they really do is they allow me to send emails to people. And I'm a programmer. So I'm sure I can create a piece of software that will allow me to do the exact same thing that Infusionsoft does. Okay, it probably will take me a couple months to put it together, but an MVP, maybe even not a couple months. If I was working at it full time, I could probably get it done in a month. But I could create a product that would be a rival to all these ones out there, all these email delivery service providers, and I could use it for free. I could save my business one of the biggest expenses that it has. But, and I'm sure I could, sit down and plan this out and figure it all out. But the point I'm getting at here is I'm not going to do it because it's going to be, it's a distraction. Okay. Another one is a scarcity product around countdown timers. Countdown timers are the bane of my existence with getting them included and integrated into my email sequence. Such a huge pain in the butt. There's no perfect product out there at all for countdowns. And I'm sure I could build one that would be perfect, that would fit my needs and suit many other people's needs. But again, I'm not doing it. So if you guys are looking for some product ideas, there you go. Take those and run with it. Email me, let me know that you're creating them, and I would love to work with you to get them done. So we could even go back and forth about the creation of the product and brainstorm all the things I was talking about with writing down sticky notes and everything. It can be features and stuff like that. And you can talk to potential customers and find out which ones they are the nice to haves and the must haves, right? Mm-hmm. That's something that you can do whenever you're looking at creating software, because I guess we should talk about software creation. I've been talking about information products and we only briefly mentioned software, but all these guys out there are software developers. So they're probably the most likely thing that you guys are going to create is software related stuff. So hold the phone, back the truck up. We need to talk about this. So one of the biggest hiccups when it comes to software creation is going crazy with features. Just, feature after feature after feature. I have a great example. My first company that I started, EcoSim Software, with my buddy, my roommate from university. We spent, I'm sure I said this before, I spent 2 years developing the product? 2 years. Like every spare moment that I had, I spent programming this thing. I probably, literally, what is that? Let's sit down, let's figure this out. Let's do every spare moment of my weekdays. So I probably had about at least 3 hours per weekday times 5 days a week, plus at least 8 hours for Saturday plus Sunday, 16 hours for the 2 days. That's 31 hours a week times 52 for a year times 2 years. That's 3,224 hours. I probably put into the creation of this software. 3,224 hours. How many work weeks is that? Let's divide that by 40. That's 80 work weeks. So if I were to sit down and work for a company full time, I would be, what is that? Divided by 52. That's over a year and a half I would be working at another company to create this product. Did I do that math right? That seems ridiculous.
No, I think that's right. Yeah.
Does that, but anyway, whether or not that's correct, I don't know. It was a ridiculous amount of time I spent creating this thing. And the reason why it took me so long was because I put every single conceivable feature into this product. I mean, I introduced mechanisms for ensuring that two people couldn't log in at the same time with the same username, okay, to make sure they couldn't cheat the system, right? Because our pricing structure was going to be around pricing per user. So we didn't want a company to buy one account and then have like 80 people using that same account. So I put that in as a feature for the product, not for the customers. And then I put in like locking features to make sure that if one person was looking at one of the forms, no one else would be able to get in there and edit the form until they were done, so that there wouldn't be any trampling of each other's data. And I put in like these notification things where, like, if I'm trying to get into it and it's locked, I can say, hey, I would like to take command of this document, and then they would send a notification to the person actually looking at it. And it would say, hey, Trevor wants to read it. Would you like to relinquish control to them? And like I put in, I don't even know. I put in like geographical mapping with like Google Maps and integrating with third-party libraries and putting in ways to add polygons and then mark them with XY coordinates with the GPS, and like just so much stuff that we didn't even end up using. And let alone we had one customer that paid us for 2 years. They're no longer a customer anymore. I don't know if I've said that before. They dropped out. We made a total of $1,600 from that product. $1,600. Let's do the math. Let's go backwards and do the math.
No. This is painful.
Isn't this painful? So what I say, 80 weeks of work times 40 hours a week. That's 3,224 hours of work divided by, dollars per hour. So what's 1,600? Oh, this is so bad. 1,600. And now that was just my time. My partner also put in almost the same number of hours as I did. Okay.
Yeah, account for that as well then.
So let's just say, conservatively speaking, that he didn't put, let's say he did half as much work as me. Okay. Let's say he did 1,500 hours of work. That's 4,700 hours of work. So $1,600 divided by 4,724 is 34 cents an hour. That's what we worked for. We worked our butt off for 2 years for 1.55 real working full-time years for 34 cents. For 2 years, that was our salary.
It's painful.
Guys, listen to me. Listen to my past failures. Don't spend 2 bloody years developing software that no one is going to buy. Don't make 34 cents an hour. I mean, probably people working... Anyway, I don't want to make comments that are... There's probably people who are much less fortunate than I am made far more money than I did per hour working on that. I've never run those numbers before, and it is quite depressing. So before you create your product, make sure that there are people who want to buy the product. We've talked about pre-selling before. I'm sure you can go back and look at previous episodes where we talked about sales and sales techniques and pre-selling, where you make sure that people have money up front, that pay you up front before you even develop the product. Like we said, if you can get at least 3 to 5 people to give you hard-earned cash up front for your product before it's built, that's probably a good sign that more people will want it. Okay, so much that goes around product creation, and again, don't bog it down with features. You can absolutely make a list of features. You can write them out on sticky notes and do all that same sort of brainstorming stuff that I was talking about. And then going to competitors, looking at their products, using their products if they have free trials, seeing what you like and what you don't like, checking out reviews if there's some way to look at reviews, like Carter mentioned, going on Amazon. Probably Amazon's not the best place for software products, but do you know of any software review sites at all?
I'm sure there are. You could always just hop on over to Quora or one of those question-based sites.
Quora, Quora?
Yeah. And basically just type in whatever the software is. You'll see a bunch of people asking questions around it, or is there a way to do this? Something like that.
Ooh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say going to within an app's a knowledge base, basically, like the FAQ or whatever, and just seeing like the different things, because chances are those are the most common requests West.
Yeah, I was going to say forums. If the product has a way to go to forums and you can check and see like all the questions that the community has been asking, you can for sure see their frustrations with the product in those things. So don't make 34 cents an hour for 2 years. Okay. It's not, or you know what? I didn't even, that was 2 years of development. We still spent maybe,
I don't want to know. Don't do the calculation.
We probably did another year of trying to sell the thing. So it's probably even more hours than that. We probably, I mean, it was such a dismal failure. And all the signs were there. I mean, the market size was tiny. The price would have to been astronomical for it to make any sense at all. But I mean, when my partner and I were running the numbers, we were too optimistic. Okay, we just ran the numbers saying, well, what if we had 100 customers paying us, $1,000 a month? Well, we're going to be millionaires by the time that we're 30. So, I mean, it's so easy to say, what if we had 100 customers? Okay,
it's like if you're selling something that accessory for a car, you can be like, well, there's 3 billion cars in the world. If we only have 1% of the market, like,
yeah. Not going to happen. Okay. No one, as what's his name from Shark Tank and Dragon's Den? Kevin, is it Kevin O'Leary?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He like he says, you are a cockroach in this market. Okay. You even to get 1% would be a miracle if you were able to do that. So, don't make assumptions like that because you have no idea what the real world scenario would be like. Anyway, big failure. I mean, I learned a lot from it. That's like we're saying, fearing failure. I'm happy I went through all that because now I know I'm never going to do that again. I was just with, he's actually my wedding party, my business partner, my old business partner, I should say. We were talking recently. I had a bachelor party, which is fun. And we were talking about the business and the failure of it. And we were laughing. I mean, we couldn't help but laugh at how naive we were, in our early 20s to get this thing going and everything. But we laughed because we learned from it, right? If we hadn't learned anything from it and we tried to do it again, then we wouldn't be laughing.
The position where you are now, it's like scraping up your knees when you're learning to ride a bike. It's just got to.
Yeah. So now always my businesses, I always look at the long term. I always look at how scalable it is. I always look at, how much staff am I going to need? I know Carter and I, we got together with a product creation for a product that required a lot of staff. And that was just a nightmare. You go through all these iterations of different types of products and you learn all these different lessons, which is great. But it's so much easier to listen to other people's failures and learn from their failures and never have to go through it yourself. Just give yourself the best chance to succeed right off the bat. Oh God. Anyway, there you go. That's definitely enough to cover the second half of this show. So I guess this will be episode number, what would this be? We were 37 was the last one. So this is 38 now. So unfortunately, we didn't have a book of the week and an app of the week for episode 37, but we can for episode 38 now.
We're talking about, we gave a book of the week.
Well, yeah, for this one, because if this is divided up into 2 episodes, the last one, you got to think in the future.
I see what you're saying.
So let's do app of the week and book of the week. We'll start off with Carter with a book of the week.
Book of the week, Checklist Manifesto.
Nice.
Great read so far. I'm only about halfway through it, but I've been recommended it more times than I can count. The gist of it is it's basically about taking really complex processes, breaking them down into checklist format. So not only are they, not only can you replicate them, but also just so you can ensure that things don't slip through the cracks. A lot of the evidence was created within the medical field. So it's really cool to hear about these top tier surgeons, people who are super, super smart, and how yet they would still, skip these small little steps that would have such drastic effects. And just by implementing a checklist, how they were able to eliminate all these errors, save tons and tons of money, and just keep all these different people safe and healthy. So really great book, really great.
Airline pilots.
What's that?
Airline pilots.
It's actually where they start out. I won't ruin everything, but that's where they start out. One of the big military bombers was one of the
EP38s?
first. It was one of the first, first examples of when a checklist allowed something to happen that's wasn't able to happen before. So read the book. Really good.
Really good. And it's funny you mentioned that. We weren't really sure if we had a relevant app of the week to go along with this. And Carter was just mentioning the book, and I immediately jumped to checklist.com. I use checklist.com for my employees, my contract workers. So whenever I have a new task that I need them to do, something that I already know how to do, I just, checklist.com is free, and you can go and you can create, obviously, a checklist, and the checklist can be shared amongst your people. You can give it to them so that they can actually go through and check every single time. They can go through that checklist again and again and again, just to make sure the job is getting done right, and they're not forgetting, obviously, any really important steps in there. Free to use. I think they have a paid plan as well. But I'm not using the paid plan. I don't even know how much it costs, but I imagine it's really inexpensive to do a paid plan. But yeah, there you go, checklist.com. And another one that I just picked up that's been a huge headache for me for quite a while. And I'm very happy that I found it. And I've only been using it for 2 days, but already I'm feeling like it's just working, which is amazing. And that is Mailbird. Have you heard of Mailbird before?
What is it?
It's an email client. So email has been a source of pain for me for so long because I have something like 10 different email accounts. Mm-hmm. And managing 10 different email accounts is a nightmare. And I just wanted some sort of a client that looked nice, that allowed me to have all of my accounts in one spot, and that just worked in terms of just the functionality of how you would manage and work between several different accounts all at once. And I've been struggling with, I've been using like the built-in apps with respect to Windows, and I've tried other little email, like I've tried using just Gmail, the tab browser type Gmail, and it's just, it doesn't work for me. It's not a solution. So I found Mailbird at, I think it's just mailbird.com. It's a paid program, which is very offensive to a lot of people, because why would you pay for email? Because email has always been free, but it's $6 a year. And already within 2 days, I'm feeling this weight lifted off my chest with respect to how easy managing my email has become. And I haven't even gotten into all the crazy cool features that this thing has and all the shortcut keys. I'm all about shortcut keys. It's going to be a huge time saver, and I'm so excited about it. And it just works. And I'm so excited. So mailbird.com, like I said, free trial for like 30 days, and then it's $6 a year. I mean, come on, guys. That's the cost of what, hamburger for a whole year worth of like productivity back in your pocket. Oh God, I'm so excited about it. So yeah, there you go. That's my app of the week. Huge weight off my chest. And I looks like Carter has been trying to say something. I keep interrupting him. So go ahead, Carter. No?
No, I think that's great.
Yeah. So there you go, mailbird.com. And I hope that the past, 2 episodes now, episode 37 and now this episode 38, have been of use to you. Hopefully you've gotten a lot of little golden nuggets out of it. So if you have, then by all means, reach out to us and leave us a comment on either of the episodes. You can go coderstartup.com/38 for this episode, or 37, obviously, for the last episode. You can leave comments on either one. We will respond to you. We've had, obviously a couple of comments finally rolling in. So you guys are actually, getting forward and taking action on that. So I know that's very difficult sometimes, but it means that we're actually getting through to you guys. So really exciting to see that. So by all means, we love it when you leave a comment. And also with respect to, this is going to be way out in the future. Or I keep calling you, I want to say Colin, Carter has already picked a winner for the contest that we've been running since, I don't know, June or something like that.
Yeah. So I'm going to make sure it's all right for them to, hopefully we'll share the website and all.
Yeah, for a future episode, we can talk about sort of the results of that. That'd be great. But for now, we'll keep their information under wraps. But they will have already received an email from us saying, "Congratulations, you've won." So if that is you, then congratulations to you, good sir or madam. And that'd be great if we can get them on, or at least just get the site up and do the review on it and see what the results are like. So that'd be really fun. So there you go. If you want to check out Carter's website, like we mentioned before, it's unitedbusinessleaders.com. Is that correct?
Yep. Or you can check out my blog at mcarterjohnson.com.
M. Carter Johnson.
Yeah.
Beauty. I haven't been there in a while. I apologize, but someday I'll have time to be able to go through and check out the stuff that he's been publishing. So there you go. I think that is a wrap for the episode. So take care of yourselves, everyone. Happy learning, and bye for now. Peace.